We've got Alex, he, him in Tennessee. You've got a little bit of an interesting story, it sounds like. Talk to us. What's going on, Alex? You're chatting with Cross Examiner and SR.
What's going on, guys? So
good.
I am an atheist. My wife, she grew up in a cult, a Christian fundamentalist cult. I'll leave the name out for anonymity's sake, but she is now something, I don't know, but not religious. Her sister, one of her two sisters, is still involved in that cult, and both of her parents are. Then this other third sister recently came out as bi. And so I've been I've known the family for 6-7 years now, and was upfront when I first met them that I'm not religious. And we've always had an open dialogue. It was hard for them to accept it first, but at this point, like we've done a great job at fostering mutual respect, and it's awesome. I'm so surprised with how much they have come to accept me as a very much not member of their church cult.
That's wonderful.
Which brings us to the thing that's happening now. The sister hasn't wanted to lie by omission, and she recently came out to the other sister, the still involved in the cult sister, that she is bi. Still in the cult sister is doing a great job so far at like putting on a happy face and being outwardly supportive, while peppering in the comments of, but that's not God's plan. Okay, but you understand the conclusion of this, all the stuff you'd expect, right? So here I am as the guy who took a long time to work on this relationship with this family so that we can all trust one another and have this like open dialogue. But I also feel like I don't want to hurt that, but I feel like I have a responsibility to help might be the wrong word from their perspective, but to usher in some understanding of the situation for that side of the family so that they can better accept their daughter and sister. I don't want to damage that relationship in doing so, but I don't want that sister to be alone.
For sure. And I think that, this is a situation a lot of us really understand. A lot of us have been in this. Cross Examiner, do you have thoughts?
I do. First, congratulations on navigating so far this complicated situation. This is not easy. Now, you're using the phrase cult. I want to make sure we're clear on terms. So I've got some experience in researching and reporting on cults. So typically, one of the most defining aspects of a cult is that their members suffer a high amount of pressure to cut off ties with people that are not in the in-group. And so it surprised me when you mentioned that they were still willing to associate with you and your wife. So I without talking about the details, I just wanted to make sure that you can tell us what pressure are they under, because if they're still in the cult and they know they've got these heathens, for want of a better word, in their orbit, that may be risky for them to one degree. So that's my first question. My second question is, do you think that the sister who is putting in what some people might take as snide remarks, others might take as helpful remarks, do you think that sister that's still in the cult, do you think she's coming from a good place? Because a lot of times religious people will say things like that because they honestly believe that their sister's going to go and be in hell, and they don't want that to happen. And this is how it comes out as their attempt to help. So those are my two questions for you.
To your first question, I think this cult can be found in a recent book about cults. They even flirt with the idea of cults, with the term of cult. I'm very comfortable that they're cults, that they should have excommunicated some people, and they didn't. Really don't know how we got to the place where I know a ton of the members. I've been to headquarters. I'm welcomed in with open arms, I think, because I didn't start out in the cult and then leave, so I'm not an apostate from their perspective. I think they still have hope for me. But
your non-belief is less offensive to them. Yeah.
Exactly. So your second question, the sister, I believe wholeheartedly, has nothing but the best of intentions, but that doesn't stop potential harm, right? So that's where I'm trying to navigate. I feel like I really can't have a conversation and I'm close with both sisters, very close with both sisters. I can't have a conversation with the current cult member sister about this without, I think, directly challenging the foundation of her beliefs. And that's, I think, the core of my question is that I can't talk to her about why she should support her sister in this without addressing why I think that her objections are unfounded. And that's a Band-Aid I don't want to rip off.
Yeah, that is the heartbreaking reality of what happens when the rubber hits the road, when religion really sinks into the brain, because there's no way around that. And you're absolutely right.
Sure.
On one level, everybody's going to be like, well, can't you just say, can't we all agree to disagree? Or can't we all just not talk about it when we're at the barbecue and stuff like that? But what you're telling them in their language is, I want you to shut up and just live with the fact that your sister is going to die and not be with Jesus and not get her own planet or whatever cult they may be in, or burn in hell, right? That's what you're telling them from their perspective. And they're like, even if my sister came to me and said that, I would still feel this obligation to do this. So if you're not going to do it, I can't be around you and not worry about you. So you end up with this tearing apart of families, and it's really tragic. I don't know, SR, you may have some experience in dealing with these situations. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I want to say, Alex, if you're not familiar with Recovering from Religion and the Secular Therapy Project, those are fantastic, resources here. Recovering from religion isn't just for people who have left religion, right? Like it isn't just for people who are in that process of deconverting. Even it's for full on believing members of various faiths, right? Just to have somebody to talk to, and put thoughts up against. They're not there to deconvert people or anything, right? And they're also there for those of us that have left religion a long time ago, right? And we just want somebody to kind of commiserate with and just be like, can you freaking believe these Christian nationalists, But I think a lot of what, you're talking about here, Alex, goes back to some of the stuff that we were talking about with our previous caller, Jenny, who was talking about when's the right time to kind of push back in such a stronger degree. And, when do I stand up for myself? When do I just kind of let it go and all of that? And a lot of this is going to be really, really personal. A lot of this is going to be what are your goals, right? With all of this, and what is the most effective, in terms of achieving that. So, for instance, it may actually be more beneficial to not challenge the sister, right? That's still the member, not be so strong with those challenges and always trying to bring it up. Maybe the more important thing is to just be a shoulder and another human for the sister who has left that belief system and is now come out as bi and is now receiving so much of that negativity, right? Maybe that's what is the most effective thing. Maybe that's what's the most helpful thing, right? Just you showing love and support to another person, just because you genuinely give a shit about them, right? As opposed to just trying to push a message, on the flip side, though, of course, and this is kind of one of the unfortunate things sometimes, is also, Alex, maybe coming out real hard is actually what's going to be more helpful for this sister, right? Maybe just really, getting into it. And I obviously we haven't mentioned, this cult or anything. So I'm just going to use an example. Like maybe just getting to the real heart of the Mormon church and just being like, Joseph Smith was convicted of fraud like 2 or 3 years before he used the same method to say that the Book of Mormon was a thing. Like, come on, stop believing this nonsense. That's why I think it is so valuable for us on the non-religious side to have so many different methods of tackling these difficult conversations. And I also think, not to, they always say to end on a high note, but I'm going to kind of end on a bummer and give it back to you, Alex. But I think also we need to be a little more comfortable with the fact that unfortunately some scenarios, no matter how much we want otherwise, or no matter how much we try, they just don't end in the perfect, blockbuster movie ending that we want. And like the dream world would be that everybody has their beliefs, and everybody's super cool with each other, and we're all one big happy fucking family. But unfortunately, I know all too well that that just doesn't always happen, and it could be beneficial just going through, kind of playing through in your head, what is that like? What would the world be like where myself and this sister who has left this religion and is now come out as bi, and what would it be like for us to not have these other people in our lives? Is it better? Is it worse? Um, Unfortunately, at the end of the day, so much of this is very, very, specific to you. But I think there are some kind of broad things that are helpful. And again, I just point back to what Cross Examiner said with our caller Jenny. Make sure you're safe and comfortable. That's always going to be just so freaking important, right? And then knowing what your goal is, and the most effective means of getting there. And again, I'll just personally suggest, I think, shouting out to some of those wonderful volunteers at Recovering from Religion, and the wonderful people that take part in the Secular Therapy Project. That could also be incredibly beneficial. So what do you got for us to kind of end this out? We'll grab some other calls here, Alex.
Yeah, first off, appreciate your time. I I think that the shoulder to crown position is probably going to be the highest probability of having a good outcome. The other side of it, to you're pointing out the issues with the Mormon Church. I kind of have a similar idea of not trying to change their mind, but using the Mormon Church in particular to talk about. They always bring up to me, well, of course our beliefs are true. Like you guys were talking about in your last caller, there are all these people who claim that they were eyewitnesses, or at least they claim that there were eyewitnesses, but all those people lie, and a lot of stuff comes back to arguments like that. And so I thought, I want to just tie this into the LDS Church and say, okay, well, we have all these contemporaries that would attest to what Joseph Smith is doing, and you are comfortable dismissing those claims. So at the very least, can you find, since you exclude, you rule out those arguments because those are hearsay, can we at least leave some room for fallibility, for being wrong about our own beliefs? Just leave that door open enough that you can allow yourself to accept your daughter on the possibility that you're incorrect.
That is an excellent approach. It's something that I was thinking about mentioning. The challenge is what happens when you get the no. There's the famous debate between Ken Ham and Bill Nye the Science Guy, when they were asked a question, and what would change your mind, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and he listed Precambrian chicken and all of these things. What would change your mind, Ken Ham? Nothing. And so sometimes you run into that where you want to go in and say, hey, for the sake of the family, for the sake of the relationship, can we all get together and not talk about it? Can you at least accept the possibility that you might be mistaken, if not on the whole thing, on some of the details? Can we agree that because there's a chance that you might be wrong, maybe the family relationship is more important than what you perceive as her immortal soul? If they're open to that, that's a great approach. The question is, how do you get there? And it's long and complicated. And Recovering from Religion Foundation and the Secular Therapy Project, I both echo those references. They do amazing work. But yeah, if let your wife tell you what she wants you to do, and do that, and then maybe make some suggestions to her.
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
Thank you guys. Awesome conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alex. And before I let you go, man, I'll just remind you, we've got just a massive amount of wonderful people in this community. And there are so many great places, run by fans for the fans, whether it's the Facebook or the Discord, which actually Cross-Examiner, myself, and a wonderful backup host, Armin Navabi, will all be hanging out in the Discord after this. So come join us if you can. But we've got a lot of really great communities, Alex, where you can bounce ideas off of, people and just get some advice and just kind of talk about stuff. And, give us a call back, man. Let us know how this all goes and kind of what the outcomes are.